2/3 of Americans have gut health issues. And that's because of things like antibiotics, sugar, alcohol consumption, all of those things. 90% of your immune system lives in your gut.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like 70% of your serotonin, specific probiotics actually help release more oxytocin, make for better skin. But an unhealthy gut can lead to Alzheimer's. A leaky gut can lead to Alzheimer's, cancer, a lot of downstream effects because there's so much noise about prebiotics, probiotics, like fiber, all of this sort of stuff. And I was like, the most simple way to think about it is like, there are the things that are living in your gut that are not part of you. And those are the microbes, those are bacteria, those are probiotics, right? Those are little bacteria that live, and there's good and there's bad ones, okay? And you need to make sure that you introduce those because just like any environment, once they die, they're dead. You don't just eat a carrot and they come back. That is not how that works. Like they are like animals, right? They're living beings. And so you actually have to reintroduce them. And that's why you have to eat things like a probiotic pill, or if you're not going to take a pill, then you need to eat something like Sourmilk.
Yeah. We have another brand on the show today. I am graced by the presence of Kiki Couchman. She's co-founder of Sourmilk.
Other yogurts on the market just use the cultures that make good tasting yogurt, but they're not actually the ones that make a meaningful impact on your gut. So we're actually taking the equivalent of a probiotic supplement and culturing it in your yogurt so you can still eat 15 grams of protein, all the nutrient density of dairy, while also still getting the probiotics of a supplement without having to take a pill or a powder. And the thing I say all the time is like, our customers are the best influencers and ambassadors that we could ever have. Like I could pay Alex Earl, I could pay whoever the hell to sell my yogurt. It is always going to be better if you, Michael, try my yogurt and you tell your friends to buy the yogurt and they try it, they love it, they tell their friends, like that goes way further than anything. And so if I can instill in every early customer our story, what our ethos is, if they can be an extension of Sourmilk, like we now have like an army.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Maher, the host of The Longer Game, a podcast that talks all about the future of retail. Brick and mortar, direct to consumer, Amazon. If it's driving retail forward, we talk about it here on the show. Make sure to subscribe to catch every episode on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Every listen, every share, all of those conversations, they mean a lot to us and they help us get our message heard. Retail is evolving very quickly. You've been along for the ride, and I appreciate you for being here. All right, let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Longer Game, the podcast where we talk all about retail. We have all kinds of guests on this show. And this season 4, we have had a lot of brands on the show. We have another brand on the show today. I am graced by the presence of Kiki Couchman. She's co-founder of Sourmilk. Welcome to the show, Kiki. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you having me on. As you mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Sourmilk. Sourmilk is a Greek yogurt that's specifically designed for your gut. So other yogurts on the market just use the cultures that make good tasting yogurt, but they're not actually the ones that make a meaningful impact on your gut. So we're actually taking the equivalent of a probiotic supplement and culturing it in your yogurt so you can still eat 15 grams of protein, all the nutrient density of dairy, while also still getting the probiotics of a supplement without having to take a pill or a powder. We're about a year into this. So I guess a year is like a little bit like, who knows when the launch date is, but about a year into quitting my job to do this full time.
I like it.
Yes. And we're about 4 months into launching. So it took us, I would say, about 8 months to get off the ground, to really get final packaging and all that going before we were actually in retail stores. So early innings in our journey, especially for CPG.
I love that, though. I love that a lot of times people look backwards and they are like, all right, we're 10, 15 years into this. Here's what the journey looks like. So we're getting a fresh take from a brand that literally is in the midst of building right now, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah. We are really in the midst, like truly. Like you've caught me today at my computer. Yesterday I was running around. My co-founder is upstate at a dairy conference right now. She's meeting a bunch of dairy men and women, and I ran around. We had like a random sellout at a grocery store. I had to deliver 45 cases of yogurt.
Gosh.
I had to bike myself to Queens and then get that and then go over to Bushwick and do that. And then I had to film with a grocery store. We had a sampling with Whole Foods. And, it's just like chaos day always. So it's rare that you find me at my computer in this way.
I think as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a builder, you can plan for things. But there's so much that and it's going to depend upon the category too, especially being something like in a category that has spoilage. There's that added element of complexity to it. There are just always going to be things that you can't plan for and you can't No.
Like literally, what do they say? Like you plan and God laughs. It's like
Yeah.
that on steroids, but for entrepreneurs. Yeah. I mean, I think that we joke, we still do like a quarterly planning exercise, me
Sure.
and my co-founder, where we set our goals and we think about what we're headed towards. I think it's still very helpful, but it's hilarious sometimes 3 months later to look back at what our goals were. And it's not even that they were off base. They were just completely in a different direction
Sure.
than what we were going to go in. So I think that's what makes the early stage really fun, is because you're like really agile and nimble and making 1,000 decisions a day that sort of determine the direction of your company. But also, it's just far less stable, obviously.
Well, and you could totally, we've seen this happen with further down the line, we've seen it happen, but with products, like when when a product gets developed, it doesn't turn into something until later. So like a great example would be when the actual bread slicer was invented. It took a decade for that to turn into something that was commercial, because it was created originally for people at home. And it was like, I don't need to slice a whole thing of bread. And then Wonder Bread came out with a pre-sliced bread. And it was like, okay, well then, yeah, that makes sense. Or just something's invented and it ends up being used for something else. So like you can start with an idea in mind. And sometimes I think just starting is the right thing to do, because it's not going to be perfect. But in the midst, if you're paying attention and you're not so overwhelmed, maybe with different channels or other things that you're having to think about, you're just really focusing on product and product innovation, whatever that looks like, and feedback from the customers or from the retailers that you're working with as well. And then saying, oh, we're seeing a shift here. Maybe we should lean in.
Yeah, totally. I also think your point is very, very sound, and people are always like, oh, CPG takes so long to build and scale. It could take like 10 to 15 years, like, even if you're quick, right? And I think that's like, it's just a nature of what we're getting ourselves into. It's like one yogurt you sell for $2, or, distributor who sells to and everyone makes up. Like, if you think about the revenue and the growth and like how much you're trying to reach a bunch of individuals, and to be able to really like start the cultural trend of something en masse across all those individual buying habits, it takes a really long time. And you have to sort of be patient and have that like cumulative momentum rather than just an overnight success too.
It's also kind of audacious as a human to say, what? That takes 10 to 15 years? Why would you do that? Like, how long does it take to get a degree in school? Minimally, it's going to take 4 years. If you want to be a physician, it's going to take you minimally 12 years to get through all that, to actually be practicing. And that by that point, you're not even an expert necessarily. You're still building and starting in a practice. How long does it take to raise a kid? I mean, might be a little bit different compared to who you talk to, but like we're talking about 2 decades approximately. Like, great things just take a while to build, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's true. I just think that we're really used to things coming quickly. Like, I think that Silicon Valley tech, all the VC money, like you see outcomes in less than 5 years often. And I think that it completely warps the way that we think about things. I went to Stanford. My co-founder also went to Stanford. That's where we met each other. And we always joke, like, we never thought we'd be founders, because there's a specific archetype of founder that comes, particularly founder man, that comes out of Stanford. And I think that's like something that, we lived and breathed and we saw, and there was a lot of hubris around it and a lot of like, I'm the one to save the world type of mentality. And it's just totally warped. It's so different than CPG. And I think it's totally warped the way that we think about like a career journey. Like, it has to happen. You have to make it in 5 years, sort of thing.
That's a lot of pressure. And I don't know anyone who's become an expert in something in 5 years.
At all.
I've been an entrepreneur now for 16 years. And the further that I get into it, I mean, it's so true. The more that you realize there's just so much that I don't know. And I feel like I need and or get help from people now more than I ever did, because I don't feel like I have to shoulder it alone. But I know I'm not going to be the best person to do my books or my taxes or to handle implementation of a new software in my company. Like, there are things that I am arguably great at, and I would say better than most people. There are some things that I'm not better at, and I don't want to do those things, nor do I have a desire to do those things. I need people who want to do those things and do them well, so that my company can be successful. And it would not happen if it were just for me. But that takes a long time to build and to get to that point.
Yeah. I'm excited I never want to do my tax.
Yeah. I know people like, yeah, I do my taxes. And I'm like, no desire at all.
Really zero desire. But I think that's right too. It's like start to get a great understanding of what your strengths are and be able to lean into that and spend your time really focused on that. We think about that a lot because I think, in these early stages of the business, we're doing everything. We've just started outsourcing some things, but essentially we're doing almost everything. And we also know that we are both extroverted, like gregarious young women who, like, being a sales leader and a founder is like the best use of our time. Is to go
Yeah,
out and
exactly.
100%. And so how do we make sure like our days look stacked in that way? And yet, obviously, I still spent like 2 hours this morning going through invoicing and like figuring out all that sort of, like having to triage different things. And but we are trying to think about that. We're at the precipice of that.
But I think in the early stages of your business, I've done my books before and I knew how to do it. And I think learning those things and being the person that does every element of your job or of running your company gives you an appreciation so that
For it.
as you grow, you realize, oh man, that work was really difficult. And so having a good person here is helpful. Like my agency, Cartology, all we do is help brands to win on Amazon. I've done that. I break it into three different categories. Catalog, which is like, honestly, it's all the crap that nobody wants to deal with, but is super important so that your catalog is listed, it's live. You're dealing with compliance issues with Amazon, all the BS that no one wants to deal with, but has to be done. That's catalog, getting inventory in, etc. Then there's creative. That's like the beautiful product detail page. Then there's advertising. That's the sexy marketing part. I've done catalog work before. I do not like it. I do not want to have to do it, but I appreciate how challenging it can be because I know people who are in the trenches who are doing that on my team, and I need them to be great at doing that. And I know that I don't want to do it. I can step in if I need to, but I'm still not going to be the best person to do that. But I've been there and it sucks. It's not fun. People tell me they like it. I just believe them because I really don't want to press too. I don't want to press too far. And then they're like, I do hate this.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, and then you also can know what good looks like what you just said. It's like, hey, I didn't, maybe I wasn't good, but I know what it takes I know the things that I was lacking, and I need to now find somebody who actually has that or whatever that looks like.
In building, having too much, and I think this has happened for a lot of founders. If I take a step back from what I was going to say, a lot of people think if I just get that one big PO, or if we go really big, that's going to be amazing. And I've seen this in music, but I think also with brands too, what I will call the Kelly Clarkson effect. Who is the only person who's won American Idol who's been really successful? Kelly Clarkson. Now, there's been the Carrie Underwoods and the Jennifer Hudsons that have been like, 7th or 10th or whatever the case might be, and they've crushed it and they've gone on to do really well. But when you get pushed into the forefront so quickly and you have no underlying base, it's really hard to sustain that. And I know that you all at Sourmilk have taken a different approach in that. Tell me a little bit more about that approach and why you feel so strongly about doing things that way.
Yeah. What a good analogy. I'm going to start using that.
Please do. I say it all the time and I don't know if it always lands, but like I've just seen it be true. And so it plays out.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I feel like we've taken the like community talent show approach. Is that like a
yeah, I like it. I love it.
Like, and it's not quite apt because New York is a stage. New York is not your like, small community town, but it is one gated area that we've decided to really tackle. And our approach has been, let's become a really big fish in a smaller pond rather than try and be a big fish in a big pond, because it's rare that you see the American Idol effect actually work, hence the Kelly Clarkson. And like you said, it's not even that you don't have a business. It's like fundamentally CPG is like creating a good, like something, some product for cheaper than you're going to sell it. And what that means is you need to be able to create very streamlined operations. And we're operating in a very slim margin business. And without economies of scale and without like really, really operational excellence, it can be very hard to get there and then to actually demand a higher price point. And so I think if you bust out the gates as like a big fish in a big pond, you actually don't have any of those operational efficiencies or excellence behind you. So you often are like just burning cash in order to stay afloat and be there. So yeah, we've decided to take the smaller approach. I like to say it's like way more about developing a cult following. And so that is where we started. Is last year, Elan and I started posting on social media. I started posting from my personal account because we didn't even have a name yet as a brand. But when we quit our jobs, we sort of looked at each other and we knew, okay, we have a product that cannot go D2C. We cannot sell this direct to consumer because of the cost it takes to ship refrigerated product overnight. So we will not have like a proof of concept where we can like leverage data to what's in the grocery store. We need to go straight into grocery stores. So we have to go directly into retailers. And why would they take a chance on us when we're in a velocity or category where the velocities are so high? We have Chobani, we have Sickies, we have Faye, we have incumbent brands that are everyday household items and names, which makes this a really amazing opportunity, but it means that it's pretty hard to break into because you have to be competing with them. Like, I think most shoppers don't actually understand, but it's like, think about a grocery store as like real estate. And if Chobani is selling, let's say 20 units a week and Sourmilk is only selling 5, they're losing money instead of putting another Chobani on that shelf.
Yeah.
So you need to be super competitive. So we knew that. And then the last thing was we have an 8-week shelf life. And so we need to get this to the grocery store and it needs to be sold out within a certain amount of time. And so we literally need a line out the door, like truly the day we're in a grocery store. And so we started building in public. I started building my personal. We were able to gain a lot of followers that way. I've had to skewer myself to become a content creator, but now it's become a labor of love. And
that feels like a more organic content creator versus mom and dad, I want to create content. You're like, I want to build something, so therefore I will create content. That is what, to me, like a real content creator is like. I was talking to someone about this recently. It was like, this person is an influencer. And I'm like, well, you could be an influencer or an evangelist just doing and building the thing that you love.
Totally. 1,000%. Like, I remember learning the difference between like influencer and content creator when I was first starting this. And now I'm like, I'm not an influencer. I'm a content creator.
Right. Yeah. There is a difference between those. You're creating content for the thing that you are building. You're not just trying to influence people for the sake of making an income.
Exactly. And the thing I always think about is value. Like, what is the value that I'm bringing to everybody? Because it is not just about influencing you to buy Sourmilk. It's about providing value to all of you. So you actually have trust in me and you have trust in the product. Because I think that is like number one, the difference. Chobani could go out and do this tomorrow. They could go out and put the probiotics that we put in our yogurt tomorrow. But they do not have the trust and the legitimacy and the authentic voice that we have with our followers and honestly, that our product has with our customers.
It's like Pop-Tarts adding protein to Pop-Tarts. People may still buy them, but it's not the same as a brand that's like Legendary, who started out making protein Pop-Tarts for those people.
Totally. Exactly. It's very different. And so I think that's something that we think about a lot. Is like, it's almost our moat is like having this brand. But yeah, we basically that was our call to action, was join our email list. We don't even have a product yet, but we want you to join our email list. And we were able to accumulate 2,000 emails before we ever had product.
That's awesome.
Which then made us very confident that we could go to our co-man and say, let's do an R&D run. Like, let's actually do this. And we couldn't, there's again, another constraint of yogurt. You can't just like get a cottage license and like make it in your house and then sell it. No, like, this is dairy. This is animal products we're working with, refrigerated, temperature controlled. So we had to use a co-manufacturer from day one. And the MOQ was not too bad. I mean, it was 1,200 cups of yogurt. But if you're starting from zero, like, where's the 1,200 going?
Right. Yeah.
So we had 2,000 emails. We hit them up. We said, hey, we're coming back down to the city this week with all this yogurt. Come and meet us on the street. And that's what we did, is we sold 1,200 yogurts. We sold out in 1 week. People bought online and then they came and met us on the street and we like did a little brown paper bag exchange. And then we did that like 5 more times over and we sold 8,000 yogurts hand to hand in the streets of New York. And it allowed us to get data on our customers. So we had, retention data, we had the zip codes of where they were, we had how much they're willing to pay, their average order value, like all these things that were incredibly important that if we were just like maybe a random farmer's market doing cash, like we wouldn't really have that data. But because we were actually having these transactions happen online and then meeting customers, it was very helpful. But then we also had like qualitative data. We met every single customer that was buying our yogurt. And if I go back to the cult following, like they now know me and Elan. Like every person who has bought yogurt in those like 4-month time frame knows us personally and has had a conversation with us and understands the story of our brand, which really created very loyal customers.
Can you imagine just saying, oh yeah, I know the founder of this brand?
Totally.
You cannot do that for most of the things in your fridge or in your cupboard. Well, and to my wife's credit, because she does all the food buying, she puts stuff that is like really good quality in our house, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should prospect that person because I like because I like their food. So maybe I can say I met or know this
Good
person.
engine for you.
But yeah, that's my I like in my CRM, I will often say, where's the source? And I'll just say your wife. Your wife is the source for this.
So good.
There's you talked about trust and authenticity. People are meeting you, and if you're a genuine person, you seem like a genuine person. So people are meeting you, and they're like, okay, cool. I get to know this person. I get to I get to know more about them. I am now experiencing their product. Like that feels very different than just buying something from a shelf.
1,000%. Like it's such a different experience of like actually being able to support, this small business and understand what the yogurt does for you. And the thing I say all the time is like our customers are the best influencers and ambassadors that we could ever have. Like
Yeah.
I could pay Alex Earl. I could pay whoever the hell to sell my yogurt. It is always going to be better if you, Michael, try my yogurt and you tell your friends to buy the yogurt and they try it, they love it, they tell their friends. Like that goes way
That's
further
real.
than anything. And so if I can instill in every early customer our story, what our ethos is, if they can be an extension of Sourmilk, like we now have like an army, right? Essentially, because now they are ambassadors on their own right. And they actually have heard straight from the horse's mouth, like what the story is, what differentiates the product rather than just buying it off the shelf. Now,
And credit where credit is due, Alana is also cool too. So
oh my God,
since I met both of you. So
she's doing all this, by the way, as well. This is a we endeavor for everything.
Which is cool. And honestly, that's amazing. Having a co-founder is hard. It is very challenging. You have probably not experienced that.
I'm like, I think it's amazing. And I think being a solo founder would be way worse.
It can be very lonely at times, which is why I think community is important. I just think God made us to be in community as well too. Like I really think that's us as humans need to be community, and not just for the sake of like, oh, I have friends, but like I can go grab a beer with some guys and they can be like, hey, what's going on in your business? Are you doing the right things that you need to do to be successful? And I can go and say, hey, what's going on in your personal life? Are you doing the right things that you need to be doing? Like we need that level of accountability and support, but just it can be challenging because I think as co-founders, not everyone gets into it with the altruistic ideal of building a brand and being successful and wanting to work with others. And so that layer of complexity just can be challenging. And I've heard a lot of people who are like, I have this founder I need to buy out. I have this founder that I need to get out, or I need to, get out of the partnership because they're not who they said they were.
Yeah, it's true. I do feel really lucky with Elan, where I feel like this is about neither of our egos. Like it's not about being the founder. It's about doing this experience and doing it together and bringing this mission like further into the world. And I think because of that, like there's not like, hey, I need to be CEO for this reason, or hey, I need to do this thing because I need my name on it. It's like, actually, what's best for the company?
Yeah.
Like, what is best for this brand and this company? And Elan, you're way better at the details than I am. Elan, you're way better at this thing than I am. Or Kiki, you're better at this thing. And actually, we're like better together. We make better decisions together. We're actually co-CEOs. Like very few people, I think, are co-CEOs. And, all the fundraising stuff you said, don't be co-CEOs, whatever. I think that if you actually think about it from a first principles perspective, like let's take a step back, not what we should do, but what is best for this company.
Right.
For us, it truly is being co-CEOs. Like every big decision driving through both of us, we help each other think and process better. And so it is actually better for us to have that together.
Well, and a lot of people are going to give you feedback based on the experiences that they've had. I believe if you feel really passionately and strongly about what you're doing, whether it's product creation, being co-CEOs, if you believe in that and you feel like you can be true to that, then to that mission that's there, then you should absolutely, I like to say F the critics because they don't really add anything other than
I will F the critics.
Then critiquing. I'm a huge Prince fan, and he would always say, let the baker make the bread. Like, and that was more about like the record labels not having control over the artists, like let the artists do their thing. But it was like you, as critics, you add absolutely nothing, and you might get good sound advice from people, but they're going to base it off their experiences and what they went through. And if you're like, look, me and Elan, we know exactly what we're doing here. We feel good about this. We're going to do it. And you go in eyes wide open, then then go for it. Then do it.
No, agreed. Thank you. I appreciate that because I think you're going to get critics on everything. I mean, everyone has an opinion about everything and they want to share it. So
yeah, what do people say? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
So good.
I don't know if you ever heard that before, but now you can use that as well too.
Use that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think there's something to be said about ownership. And I think like Elan and I both have different areas of the business that we like own.
Sure.
But like there are some big decisions that we will always make together, and also, by the way, I almost feel like she is like my life partner where I'm like, I trust you. You're better than me.
Yeah.
And she thinks I'm better than her. And I trust you to be in any room and represent our brand better than me or as well as me.
There
And
is
vice
a
versa.
book that is called, I think it's called Redefining Narcissism. I don't know what the title is, but I'm reading it right now. And just like looks at like how there is an appropriate level of narcissism. You can be so narcissistic that you're psychopathic and you do things to intentionally hurt other people and you don't even see where that's wrong. And that's very rare that happens. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum that are called egoists, people who just hide and they don't want to focus on themselves. They only want to focus on other people. But that is actually on the scale of narcissism. But there is an appropriate level, essentially, as part of what this book says. And it is said that people are happier in relationships when they actually believe that this person is better than other people or whatever. And so like, and that in a way is a bit of narcissism because you're saying, oh, I'm special because I know
Yeah.
this person and they chose me, but you actually end up being more successful that way. Like, why would you think about it like this? Why would you be in a relationship, friendship, romantic, whatever, with someone if you didn't think they were a great person? Why would you be like, man, this person sucks. I want to be their friend. I want to marry them.
Why would you spend time with somebody that isn't? Yeah, totally. Totally. I totally agree.
Family starts to drift into another perspective. There's a level of complexity,
That's different.
but just because you're family doesn't mean that those people are loving you like maybe family should. So anyway, another podcast.
That's true. No, it's so fair. And I actually think that people don't think about it with their co-founders.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not surprised if you both say to each other, I think you're better at this thing than me, and you enjoy being around each other. I'm not surprised that you would be successful because you do actually believe, one, that you're better because of this person, but that this person is better you in certain things.
Totally. Totally. Well, I appreciate that because it's been true for us. And we think about it a lot because I think we get we at first were surprised at how much positive feedback we got on like our partnership and how the feedback being this is unique as well.
Because people have seen people do it wrong all the time.
Yes, all the time.
So I would say you certainly are blessed, but also there's a level of just removing ego from it. And that's hard to do as a human being. Let's be clear, as a human being, but especially as a founder, when you have a dream, it's probably different too if you bring someone in on something that you originally had the idea for. But to be fair, it really sounds like you and Elan had.
I mean, to be fair, like she is the person to shout out here because this was her idea. Like she had been making this yogurt to help her gut for many years. She started making it while we were living together in San Francisco. So I take some credit as being her roommate and supporting her.
Yeah.
But it was her baby, right? Like this was her project that she was doing. And it was in no way, I'm trying to build a company from this. It was, I'm trying to heal myself in this way. And I don't want to have to take another pill or powder or something like that. But she was doing it. And we were both thinking about what was next for us in our careers. And we were thinking about being very thoughtful about the experiences that we wanted to have at this next phase, what it was that we wanted to learn, what type of environment we wanted to be in. And as best friends, we just talked about it, right? Talk about it with the people who are your closest advisors. And it both sort of led us to the same area, which was the health space. And that's when it was really Elan who was like, whoa, we're talking about the health space. I actually think that we can make a much bigger impact if we actually just put the thing that can heal you in the foods you eat every day rather than like create this niche healthcare tech thing or this supplement or whatever it is. So in a lot of ways, this was her idea. But now, I mean, I think the initial product was her idea. And now the whole like manifestation of the company.
The business is the two of you, which, by the way, I've done a lot of research on health and nutrition over the years. And like, that's the what I do in my life, or like what my wife and I do in our lives, has changed and evolved just based on our life and things that are going on in our life. But like eating clean, and by clean, I mean like focusing on whole foods, better quality whole foods. So things that are organic or don't have pesticides or raised without hormones or grass fed, whatever the case might be. Like those quality of foods have a lot less inflammatory components and arguably and scientifically have shown to make you healthier. It is crazy the amount of research that we already have on a lot of things that is just not known because it's not talked about by maybe big food companies or whatever. And it's not the marketing, it's not the sexy marketing that's out there, but it is insane the amount of information we have on the gut and how impactful your gut is. This is like another 3 hours, but
It's
how
true.
impactful your gut is on all other parts of your health. All other parts of your health. It's insane.
It's true. I mean, we can rattle off like a million statistics. Like, I mean, 2/3 of Americans have gut health issues. So just baseline, most of us have issues. And that's because of things like, you know, antibiotics, sugar, alcohol consumption, all of those things. But like it's responsible for 90% of your immune system lives in your gut.
Which is
And
crazy. Yeah.
it's crazy. Like 70% of your serotonin, specific probiotics actually help release more oxytocin, make for better skin. Actually, a healthy gut naturally creates GLP-1. And so, that's also something that people should be thinking about. But an unhealthy gut can lead to Alzheimer's, a leaky gut can lead to Alzheimer's, cancer, a lot of downstream effects. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, you could just see it from like one, super crass example is like when people get fecal transplants and they go from being obese to, losing 200 pounds overnight, right?
And when people get fecal transplants, seeing how much of you lives in your gut. Like there was a great documentary that was on Netflix, and I can't remember what it's called, but the Japanese guy who won the hot dog eating contest, he was on there, and he talks about the damage that he's probably done in eating hot dogs, but that he actually loves hot dogs. And so it was like how to make a better gourmet hot dog. But there was one woman who was like scientist, researcher. She was funny. Her and her fiance like cleared out their counter, and she's like, this is love. They were taking poop out of the freezer, and it was like his and hers and other people. She's like, this is how you know that you love someone, that you're willing to like do this stuff with them. She was literally doing her own fecal transplants, which I would not recommend you doing on your own, but she seemed very knowledgeable, so she knew what she was doing. And she said she noticed that when she like did her fiance's fecal, like did a transplant with his feces, he has a lot of skin issues. So she started to get more acne. When she did it with like her brother has struggled with depression. She started to have more mental health, like it's issues. So it's like crazy how much of you lives in your gut. It's like taking care of that and doing it in a way like I supplement some things. There are some things like I take an iron supplement. I just have a tendency to be more anemic. So I take something that's going to help me with that. And I'll take a good multivitamin. I take fish oil because it helps with inflammation and other things. But like everything that I can get from my food, I want to do. So what better way to like combine that additional probiotic component than put it in your yogurt? And then you start layering on, okay, well, maybe it's not just the quality of food. Maybe there are other things going on in your body that are preventing you from getting the absorption of your food. Then that's like a body dysfunction system that needs to be treated in some capacity.
Totally. I totally love that. I was actually just trying to explain to somebody else yesterday about the difference between like how do we think about the microbiome in like almost like the most simple framework, because there's so much noise about prebiotics, probiotics, like fiber, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, the most simple way to think about it is like there are the things that are living in your gut that are not part of you. And those are the microbes, those are bacteria, those are probiotics, right? Those are little bacteria that live, and there's good and there's bad ones. Okay. And you need to make sure that you introduce those, because just like any environment, once they die, they're dead, right? Like you're born with specific probiotics, bacteria, your microbiome looks one way when you're born. And then we are exposed to this environment and everything that goes along with it and antibiotics and all that. And when those bacteria are wiped out, they're wiped out. You don't just eat a carrot and they come back. That is not how that works. Like they are like animals, right? They're living beings. And so you actually have to reintroduce them. And that's why you have to eat things like a probiotic pill, or if you're not going to take a pill, then you need to eat something like sour milk.
Yeah.
You need to eat kimchi, or you need to eat sauerkrauts, or you need to eat fermented things that actually have them living in it to reintroduce them. And now once they're there, you need to feed them. And like that's where the insoluble fiber comes into play. That's where the prebiotics come into play. That's a way to feed those good things.
To keep them around. Yeah.
To keep them around, to keep them living. And there are better diets and worse diets. And there are certain types of microbes that like certain foods and certain that don't like other foods. Some of the really bad bacteria overgrowth love sugar. So sometimes if you're craving a lot of sugar, it might not be you, but it might be that there's a bacteria overgrowth of bad bacteria in your gut. And so sugar can actually help feed that and help them multiply a lot, versus plant fibers are really good for all those good mics that are living in your gut.
Which is why eating vegetables and or fruits with a good amount of fiber are good.
Exactly. Because our body is actually not absorbing that fiber. And so it's actually being eaten by all the microbes that are alive.
There's so much that we know as in collectively have information on, but we just don't actually know or haven't absorbed that, to use a gut term, or haven't researched that or haven't talked about it. And I think we should continue to do research and find new things, because we discover new things out about bodies and how they work. But like, there's so much that's like already available to us. And I think it's probably frustrating for people, because they hear a lot of, just the general public, they hear a lot of like, what's good, what's bad. And nowadays, everything is good and everything is bad.
I know.
And it's like, okay, who did I hear? Well, I heard Denzel Washington talk about this. He's like, he used a term. It was like opinions. Opinions is what he said. He's like, on the news, it's like, all right, we have these 3 experts from this and these 3 experts from this.
Yes,
go. And it's like,
literally.
how can everything be good and everything be bad at the same time? So it's really hard to.
I mean, yogurt is a perfect example, because dairy is something right now that's like both super good and super bad, and people have such different things. And
eggs, meat, dairy, all those. It's always.
okay, I go back to Alon and I always say, like, the most important thing is the N of 1. You can do all these things, all these supplements, but ultimately it is your body, and your body looks slightly different than somebody else's. And so, you know, drinking bulletproof coffee might really work for somebody else. Intermittent fasting might really work for that person. Being on a keto diet, being on a carnivore diet, like all these things look really different, but it's honestly just about your experience. Like, if you don't have a good experience on the carnivore diet, but it's 1,000 reasons why it could be good for you, you're going to churn and you're not going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Else. And so that N of 1 is actually really important. And I think that's where it comes back to, like, you have to listen to your body and what feels good, and like what both tastes good, but also makes you feel good. And, there's going to be some people who wear Sourmilk just doesn't agree with them because they don't like dairy. And that's okay. We can't be everything to everyone, but you have to, like, that's sort of where the best data honestly comes from, is because everything else, it's like good and bad, pros and cons. You just have to, like, listen to what works for your body.
There's There's a book called Fast Like a Girl. I can't remember who wrote it. Have you heard of that book? Okay. So my wife read it, and I fast once a week. It was started as like a 24-hour fast. Sometimes
which day?
Thursday night into Friday. So like, I don't eat dinner typically. Like 2, 3, I'll like, maybe if I eat lunch. I don't often eat lunch, but if I do, like, I'll eat it, and then I'll have dinner on Friday night. So it is a full 24 hours, because I do want to get some of the effects of, I'm blanking on the term now, but I want to get into
like a ketosis sort of thing.
No,
the cell renewal sort of thing, apoptosis sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because at 24 hours, you actually start creating your own stem cells, and autophagy. That's what it is. And this woman who wrote the book, I don't know if she was like a doctor or scientist or something, but she talked about how she had some injuries and she fasted for more than 24 hours. And that those new stem cells, she believes, are like, went to the spots in her body that were in pain, and that actually allowed her to feel better and recover. But I bring this up because you said it's about your experience. My wife and I should not be fasting at the same time, because her fasting is dependent upon her cycle. And if she does it at certain parts in her cycle, it will absolutely destroy her. But other times it will be great for her. Every single week, I can fast at the same time every single time, and it will not matter for me. So like, it really is, as much as there are arguably good things for you and bad things for you and me together, like high quality foods that are not high in omega-6s, things that are not processed. Like, in general, those things are bad for people, and you should try and stay away from them. And there are going to be things that are going to be better for me, that are going to be better for you, but you won't know until you actually try those things. And like you said, carnivore diet, like, man, there's all these great reasons, and I just feel terrible when I'm on it. So maybe I'm not going to do that.
Then do it. Exactly. Yeah, it's so funny that you bring up Fast Like a Girl, because Elan does a lot of fasts, and she was really in a phase of doing a lot of fasts prior to actually understanding about her hormonal cycle.
Okay.
And did a 3-day fast once, and she'd been doing 3-day fasts like every 6 months, and she did a 3-day fast, and like was just dead, like couldn't even walk up the stairs. Like, it was actually like horrible. And the previous one, she was totally fine.
Yeah.
And it was because she was in her luteal phase, which is like, prior to getting your period, in your menstrual cycle. And she needed carbs to create progesterone. Like, she just needed that, and her body wasn't getting it. And so it just threw everything out of whack. And now we're off fasting. But
okay. But like, that's kind of stuff does matter. And it's not just like crazy ethereal, like, there's real science behind that.
Like, yeah, exactly. There's hormones that actually like need certain things and don't need others. And anyway, it's very interesting.
We all serve our purpose. I told you before, my wife is an amazing cook. I am
Yes.
not. I am great at making cocktails. She gets the cocktails from me. I get the food from her. We all serve our purpose.
There you go. Exactly. We all serve our purpose. I love
Kiki,
it.
we could probably go on for a really long time, and maybe we'll have a part 2. I don't know. But
Maybe.
this has been a lot of fun for me, and it's cool to have this conversation with founders. Just get to hear more about your story. But like, there are common themes that I hear in recording this and talking with people, and a lot of times it's like, don't go, like, build for the thing that you want, but don't go too big too quickly. Have those limiters and learn and grow. And also, there's just a lot of things that we know that maybe we should lean into, and being a founder is hard, all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that. If people want to know more about what you're doing, where should they look for you? On the street holding a brown paper bag, or is there a better place?
There might be a better place. Follow us on socials at Get Sourmilk to sort of see more about our brand, learn more about our brand. And then I share a lot more personally about the founder journey at Couchwoman on all socials, mainly Instagram, because I really engage with stories in a crazy way.
Okay.
And then you can go to sourmilk.com and you can see where all of our different stores are. We're only in 50 grocery stores right now in the tri-state area, but quickly expanding throughout the rest of
Not
the quarter.
only you are in 50.
Thank you. We are already in 50
We're
grocery stores.
already in 50.
We're
Boom. Perspective.
It's all about reframing and perspectives. It's true.
Well, you heard it here first, or maybe not, but it doesn't really matter. You heard it here. So go and follow Get Sourmilk. Go and follow Couchwoman on socials and get a crazy story interaction. That's all we got for you people today. I don't know where you got to go after this, but we don't have anything else for you, so you got to go somewhere else. See you later. Does Amazon feel complex and fragmented? Well, here at Cartology, we make Amazon simplified. Hi, I'm Michael Marr, Chief ID Officer and owner of Cartology, a full-service Amazon agency. We take extreme ownership in the work that we do. We get results, and we provide a holistic end-to-end service so that you can win on Amazon. That means we create strategy, and then we actually go and execute on it and handle everything else in between. If you want a partner who's truly accountable and that you can trust, look in the show notes and get our details and reach out to us. We want to talk with you. Thanks again for spending your time here, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Longer Game.